But perhaps one of the best examples is the newly established brand One Hotels, established by Barry Sternlicht and Starwood Capital. For those of you who don't know Barry Sternlicht, he's the guy who also, when he was working at Starwood, established W Hotels. Now, those of you who know W Hotels will also realize that they were groundbreaking and really took the whole hotel industry into a new realm. And who's to say he's not doing the same with the One Hotels brand? Here, the first hotel opened in Miami sometime last year, and they took sustainability as at the heart of everything they're doing, within a whole lot of standards, of course, but perhaps the most sustainable initiative, and we've heard a little bit about that here today from some of the gentlemen, the most sustainable thing they did was to actually reuse the building, a bit like we are here. I believe this is an old convent originally, and this literally, by the way, is the chapel. Behind us is an altar. Christ is up on the cross behind us, etc. So it's a heritage, but fit for reuse, which is a great thing. And in Miami, the same sort of idea. They took a very old building. Nothing's old in Miami compared with Europe, anyway. But they took a building, and rather than knock it down, which would have created a huge amount of landfill rather, they said, let's reuse it. It's actually more expensive to reuse a building, but that's what they wanted to do, and that sort of signifies and probably the most sustainable thing they could have done. At much smaller level, they've used the cardboard packaging for the stuff that was delivered on site to do things like do not disturb signs, etc. So the whole way they've run that, the way they're running that business is with sustainability at its heart, and that's in a business, in an urban, in a corporate environment. We're going to probably focus a lot more on the luxury residential, luxury resort projects here, but we'll see how that whether we can spin it into into the urban context as well. Now, you're familiar with three of the faces, but one is new to you, is Guy Hayward. As I mentioned earlier, he is the COO of Commune Hotels, a relatively new brand which is out of the US. But you have prior to that, and one of the brands of Commune is Alila Hotels, hopefully a name familiar with many of you. So a big welcome to Guy and to the rest of our panel. So I think in a way to get Guy straight in and put him on the spot a bit and get him involved, I was looking very much at this idea of, and I mentioned it in the early part of my discussion, my introduction, Guy, that you've got this dichotomy, if you like, between the owner-operator, the owner and the operator, rather. The owner pays for all the sustainable initiatives, the hardware, if you like, the solar panels, which no one wants to talk about, but the grey water recycling, whatever it might be, and yet in the way, the operator is the one who benefits from all the cost savings. How do you deal with that relationship? And I'll ask you, sort of, with both an owner and an operator type head-on, and perhaps you guys can respond in terms of being certainly the design side. How do you fit in that equation?
Okay. First of all, I just want to pick up on something, before I answer the question, something you said earlier, Guy. One Hotel, never heard of them. Starwood, never heard of them. Alila Hotels and Resorts, on the other hand, I've heard of them. No, it's a very good question. I mean, it's a big subject, and unfortunately, we really don't have enough time to do it full justice. Sustainability in our industry, I think, is key to everything that we do. We're a hotel company. We build small, medium-sized properties throughout Southeast Asia and the Middle East. But at the end of the day, you're offering your guest an experience. Okay, that's what it's really all about. Hotels, back in the 60s, it was the gold, the marble, the chandeliers, and all that. Now it's about the experience. That's luxury. That's true luxury. That experience comes in many forms and facets. But how do you blend the experience that makes you unique and at the same time stay conscious of the environment, maybe a little bit more than conscious of the environment, maybe proactively engaged with the environment, maybe proactively engaged with sustainability. As Bill talked about, there's many forms of sustainability, not just environmental sustainability, but social sustainability. How do you engage your local community? How do you engage your surroundings? We talked about using local building materials, local stone, local wood, all those sorts of things. I mean, I think that should really go without saying. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't living that anymore.
Like some of your owners.
Some of our
potentially.
Owners. Yeah. So that's then leading me on to to answer the question. as a hotel operator, and architects and designers, and like all of you guys, probably consultants of one shape, form, or another, ultimately, we're the people that don't have the money, right? It's the people that have the money that make the final decision on just about everything. So how do we influence that decision? How do we influence an owner to make the right decision? How do we make sure that when we're dictating that we want the walls to be made out of this particular local stone, and we want the roofs to be flat to capture rainwater, and then we're going to plumb that rainwater to the holding tanks, and it's going to be pumped back up to the recycling plant, and all these kind of fairly normal sustainable practices that maybe cost a little bit of money. How do we ensure that they get
Well, presumably you show them that there's a good return on investment.
You can try and do that, exactly, but it doesn't always work because sometimes it actually costs extra money. So the key is to look at many different aspects of what is sustainable, what are different ways that we can help the environment that maybe doesn't always cost money and even save money. So as you say, is there a return on investment? One example might be to, we have a luxury resort in Bali that, we charge $800 a night. Most guests, especially all of you coming from Singapore, would expect the air conditioning to be on about 18 degrees when you check in, right? Because you like everything freezing cold. There, we do the complete opposite. No aircon on at all the doors open on the front, all the doors open on the back, and the natural breeze just goes straight through. That's saving money ultimately, okay? So an owner understands that sort of thing. So how do you ensure that your sustainable practices, your ideas can be cost effective, can be good for the environment, most importantly, but also be good for your owner as well?
You know how I did?
Dwayne Grit.
I lie to the client. The thing is that...
So he's lazy and he lies.
I am
my goodness.
Seriously, when you have to discharge the grey water...
Like any good architect.
When you have to discharge the grey water, you know that you can recycling this grey water, but you have to spend more, right? And if you ask the client to give a choice to them, like to choose to do the regular system or to do the recycling system, they will choose the regular because they pay less. So I lie to them that there is no other choice. We have to recycle this water. There's no way you can discharge this water whatsoever. We have to recycling it. So they end up doing it.
But Mark,
this is crucial. So the thing is that how much sustainability you want to know. You want to be. Are you willing to lie to the client, to get a sustainable building?
I think a lot of our owners, unfortunately, are a little bit smarter than that, but especially when they look into your eyes.
I know I work on this part of the world, you have to.
But like Dwayne Grit, there's only giving them one alternative. Mark, you've got to sell your products into the guy with the cash. And you said people don't want to pay extra for a sustainable shower head.
Yeah, there's two things that drive us. One is that we recognize simply that we have to make the experience live up no matter, and then deliver the sustainable credentials anyway. So in a sense, there shouldn't be a choice. And that includes, you can't expect people to pay more, so that experience can't cost a significant amount more than that. And the other thing that we do is we're very active with all the regulatory bodies, all the people who are driving code and standard, building regulations, because that's the other way of driving real change.
So you're saying that Kohler does not supply anything but low flow units?
No, we do, and
so there's now become a choice, and I can have 12 liters per minute, or I can have 6, and I would argue even with your air drops and what have you in the air and the drops and what have you, that experience is not as the same as having the 12 liters a minute or whatever it might be.
I'll take that challenge on, Guy. You come over to Kohler and you come and
I'll
try
have a shower,
it.
shall I?
Yeah, come and try it. One versus the other, because honestly, that's what we do. That's what we do all the time. Literally do a back-to-back and get people to say, which is better. And actually, if you do it right, and this is the thing about where do you put your money? You do it right by investing in the science so that actually you do things that are significantly better without it having a detrimental. Now, you can't do it all the time, but that's our goal. That's the hard goal we set ourselves.
It could just be like LED lighting, so simple, and probably 10 years ago people didn't like it, but now they just accept it because that's what's all.
Yeah, but it's also about the look. Ultimately, all designers and most of us hoteliers and so on will take the look seriously into consideration. Yes, the sustainability, yes, the price, but ultimately, what does it look like? How does it feel? LED lighting 5 years ago was white and ugly. Now you've got all different colored LEDs. You can dim them LEDs, which you couldn't before. So it makes sense. Solar paneling, used to be ugly. A big solar panel and a water heater stuck on top of a roof was ugly.
But
now
also,
it's not.
a lot of it certainly with the lighting, halogens are banned. You can't buy them anymore. So you're having to go the LED route. And that's often, it's only when there's a stick that people bother to do something. They're going to do the minimum amount. Are you guys leaders or followers?
No.
Are you going to sit there and wait until you get beaten up by the government and then go, oh, okay, well, we better do it now then?
My argument is that the problem of ecological and sustainability is because we were given with choices. I mean, if you're living the life that there is no choice, just only the choice that you make is sustainable, then they will choose that. I mean, now we're talking about choices between sustainable or non-sustainable. I mean, it should become like a breath, the air you just take into your body. It shouldn't be questioned anymore. It shouldn't be a choice anymore. We just get rid of the choice of non-sustainable as a designer, as an architect. Just get rid of that choice and just offering only the sustainable choice. I think that's what I can think of, as a designer and architect.
But just as Mark says that people don't want to pay extra for a low-flow shower head.
They don't know. If we don't tell them.
Most guests, I would argue,
Just lie.
Just lie.
Okay, let's take it to the hotel context. Who's going to pay more to stay in a slightly more sustainable hotel? And I would argue that most people will not. You're not going to say, I'll pay another $100 a night because it's more sustainable. Probably means I'm actually getting less.
That's a very good point. I mean, I was working with a gentleman who started an OTA called GoGreener.com.
Online travel agent, for those of you who are not.
Online travel agent, sorry. Like Expedia and Agoda and so on. And unfortunately, he was unsuccessful, because he realized after spending a lot of money and a lot of years that nobody really wanted to pay extra to go green. They didn't really care. We all say we care, and we all publicly put on that right persona and say that we care about the environment, and yes, of course, we want to book a hotel that's sustainable. But at the end of the day, how many of you truthfully could say that when you're looking at hotels, that you really choose one that has sustainable credentials?
Go on, hands up, anybody? Paid more to stay somewhere that's more sustainable?
No. And I guarantee that. But the point is, it's not about you having to spend more to stay somewhere that has those credentials. I think at the end of the day, it's up to us as architects, hoteliers, designers, and so on, to do the right thing, which is what Mark was saying, that Kohler does the right thing. A lot of people, when they're choosing between Kohler and another brand, wouldn't sort of necessarily say, well, does Kohler have a CSR initiative? Are they doing the right thing? They wouldn't know about the training school. They wouldn't know about a lot of things that Kohler are doing. But we all do. Okay, and so we're the responsible ones that ultimately are guiding our developers, are guiding our owners in the right direction, number one. Number two is, and I know you're itching to talk, but just be quiet.
You have to stop me.
You've done enough talking for one day.
I'll do it
so
again.
I think number two is ultimately we will have to make sure that the guest experience, back to what I was saying earlier, is what ultimately is sustainable. It's environmental. Bill's project in the highlands of Cambodia, what is luxury these days? Going and staying in an Abu Dhabi hotel that has marble and 600 rooms and chandeliers everywhere, or going and riding elephants in the Four Seasons, Chiang Rai, and so on. That experience, okay, a lot of people have had that experience now, but what's next? What's the new experience that people will pay a lot of money for? Virgin Galactica going out of space, okay, that's not very sustainable, but the point is that people will pay for those unique experiences. So if we make those unique experiences the right thing, the sustainable, the ecologically and environmentally and culturally right things to do, then people ultimately are paying for sustainability.
And if they enjoy it. Dwayne, Grit, you still on for it?
Yeah, I think the whole idea about that hotel that you mentioned is not about sustainability aspect. It's about inauthenticity in the sustainability. I think now we're talking about sustainability too much that it became inauthentic about it. You're actually using as a branding to say, okay, let's become sustainable to be a good person. So in that sense, the conversation about sustainability is not authentic anymore. And I think people actually doesn't check into that hotel not because of the price that increased, but because of the inauthenticity in the conversation of sustainability. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that if we didn't say it out loud, and they just realize that this hotel is sustainable, and even though it's charging more, I don't think it's going to be a problem. No, I think people were very sensitive about, when you come to be inauthentic about things that you do. People don't like that. People like authenticity, right? So since when that the sustainability became inauthentic conversation, then it doesn't work anymore. But if it became authentic conversation, then it's work. That's for me.
And I think that idea of authenticity could be seen in this one concept I came across, transparent green. This idea of actually showing you what is sustainable initiatives the hotel is doing. And the guys at Six Senses were doing this with showing you their composting, showing their grey water recycling. You could go back of house on little tours to find out what they were doing. And I'm imagining, Bill, some of your projects are similar to that. You can go out and see what the guys are doing. Is that the case? Anything else on those? Any particulars, specifics?
St. Kitts, we actually invite people to go into to put on a bee hat and gloves.
Right. Collect some honey.
And collect some honey. Have you ever done that?
I've never done it,
Yeah.
and I'd like to.
Have you ever done that? It's a good one.
Yeah, we one of our hotels in the States, Carmel Valley Ranch, has beehives. Yeah, and it's very cool. But on that point, Guy, I think that those experiences, whether it be beehive, whether it be looking at what they do in the back of house. I was just recently at Sonova Fushi, which used to be one of the Six Senses, before they split, and they basically are zero waste to landfill. They recycle pretty much everything on an island in the Maldives, which is quite incredible.
But it probably makes a lot of economic sense because they're not
makes
sending,
a lot of
sending
economic
boatloads
sense.
of rubbish back to the mainland.
Yeah,
or
but actually
the mainland.
sometimes it's more expensive initially because you have the capital investment. You have the capital investment of buying the equipment, buying the incinerators, buying the crushers, all those sorts of things that you need to do that. And to be frank, when you're working in third world countries, like a lot of our hotels, it's actually sometimes cheaper to get somebody to come and pick up your rubbish than it is to do that. But what do they then do with that rubbish? I mean, take Bali as an example. Presume most of you go to Bali and love Bali like we all do, but Bali has a huge rubbish problem, absolutely huge. I mean, I've been going to Bali since '97 when I moved there with Arman Resorts. Now, starting this year, all my 5 hotels in Bali will be zero waste to landfill. We're going to be the first company in Bali that can say that. We are investing in the equipment all the way down to glass, rubber, petroleum. All of it is going to be recycled on property. So, these are the sorts of things that I've been working 12 months to convince my owners to jump on board with this. But the marketing power, I think, outweighs the initial capital investment. So will people pay more for a green hotel? Not necessarily. But will it get you publicity and exposure? Absolutely.
Yeah, potentially greenwashing there. This whole sort of idea of not throwing you throw your towels on the floor or put them on the rail, and all the hotels are trying to do is save money on the washing, isn't it? Really. But anyway, Mark, you had something to say there. I know.
I think they used to, but I mean, I think in this day and age, put the card on the bed if you don't want your towels washed or your sheets washed or whatever. I think it's a thing of the past. I think it's a lot of rubbish.
Most hotels are still doing it.
No, most hotel standards now is you don't wash the sheets every day. That's luxury. Don't wash them. Wash them every 2 days, 3 days. That's what we do.
Throw the card on if you want.
Don't give the guests a choice.
There you are. Dwayne
Lie to them.
Dwayne Grott's the man, isn't he?
Tell them you wash them every day.
Don't give them a choice.
Now we're talking.
Okay. So Bill, let's talk a bit more specifically about design, some design aspects there. I mean, you've been using this bamboo frameworks idea. What other sort of things, and Dwayne Gritt, perhaps you can comment on as well, Costa Lantern, what have you. What are design tips, sort of real specific, hardcore stuff that you're doing?
Something that's really, really simple, and add on to what you were saying.
You have to put the mic on.
Hey, can you hear me now? Okay. To add on to what you're saying just now is that, and I've been doing for years, for 30 years now, is just a simple shredder. Because most of the hotels that in Bali especially, you know, they'll pack up all of the garbage that comes out of the garden and they'll put it on a truck and send it to the landfill. But the easiest thing to do is to buy a $2,000 shredder, shred it, and then put it back into the gardens as mulch. That's dumb, but it never happens. And it's such an easy thing to do.
But again, it's convincing your owners and selecting the right owners who perhaps have a little chink in their armor and say, oh yeah, we will do something sustainable. Would you agree, Guy? I mean, if you got the wrong owner, then you're in trouble. So
yeah, I mean, back to what I was saying in the beginning, it does depend a little bit on the owner, but it also depends on the operator, convincing their owner and you know, sort of ultimately, I guess, prior to that, getting into bed with the right owners in the first place. You know, you have to choose your projects carefully. I think you also have to choose your owners carefully.
And you guys as designers are sitting in between these two in a way. You know, you've got the
$2,000 shredder, I've never ever had an order that said that.
as I said earlier, you know, most of these sustainable initiatives have a good return on investment. Yeah.
A lot of it's just common sense. And as we're sitting up on this panel, we're making a big deal out of it all, but it's really nothing more than common sense.
Agree, but a lot of people aren't doing it. You know, they really aren't. Any questions? We have sort of 10 or so minutes left with these guys, and you may not see them again because some of them might be flying off who knows where. So if you want to ask them a question, ask now. No questions? Not interested? Anybody awake?
Can I ask the audience? The audience
go on,
question?
Mark.
Yeah. So is
On the spot.
is politics and government legislation the only way it's really going to change? So the reality of action, you know, we've been talking about the problems of persuading owners, you know, lying to them in order to get these initiatives through. Is the reality that actually we just have to rely on this bunch of people we don't trust called politicians to set regulations, to drive us and actually make us change?
Well, on the contrary, I disagree to that. You know, I think the whole idea of sustainability need a leader. And when you have saying the leader, it means you're responsible. Now, if you try to push the responsible to the politician, that would be quite obviously that you're not the leader in that conversation, right? So I think the only thing to make the sustainability, which is a multi-discipline kind of complex issue, is everybody in this room became a leader in that issue. I mean, you don't care about politicians, no matter what they do. If you have to lie to the client, lie. I mean, it's okay, you know, you make the world just got better. And eventually afterward, they will know about that, and they'll be happy. You know, because they're so clumsy to know about that in the beginning, and they can't make a right decision, doesn't mean that they're a bad guy, or are you doing a bad thing, right? So I think it's us as a leader in a conversation that have to responsible for that, and definitely not the other people.
Yeah, I think the government will always be the follower. I think grassroots will be the leader. You know, look at your example of what you're doing with Kohler Classic or whatever. Clarity. Look at what these two gentlemen are doing, what we're doing. I mean, ultimately, you know, you have to start at the grassroots level.
I think there's always going to be those sort of evangelists and things, but I see it certainly in a European context, people just don't, the owners don't do anything, or they do the minimum that's required of them. They don't want to spend the extra dollar. They don't want to be lied to because they know what's going on, and they will not do anything, and they'll only do the minimum. There's so few of the big chains are prepared to do anything else.
So is it down to, I mean, education then? I mean, it's interesting because my kids are, you know, they're 8 and 9, and they care more about sustainability certainly than I did when I was a kid. You know, is architectural education doing enough to create this next generation of leading architects who care?
And don't hotels have a huge opportunity? Every single guest, if they just experience the fact that you can do waste separation in your room, just sort of 3 different boxes, which, you know, Scandic hotels are doing 20 years ago. You know, only now are you seeing the big groups pick this up, and that's such an easy way that you then can go, oh, I could do that at home. I was just thinking about this in the way of I separate 6 different types of waste at home. I can't believe that, but I'm doing it, and it's just a habit. You just do it. Everything just works, and you know where it goes. And every 2 weeks this gets picked up, every 2 days this gets picked up. I mean, I don't know what they're doing here in Singapore. I can imagine a lot on that side of things. But these are the small steps that we could all take.
Yeah, I mean, to take water as an example, I mean, these lovely plastic water bottles. Okay, they've been produced somewhere, and the plastic's been produced somewhere. They've been trucked somewhere else to fill up with water, and actually probably produced in China, and then trucked to us, and we're going to use them, and then we're going to throw them away, and then they're going to be trucked somewhere else, and they're going to be thrown into landfill or, well, hopefully recycled. Most of my hotels have water bottling plants. We produce our own water in glass bottles. We wash those bottles and use those bottles. In Asia, we all know that we use a lot of drinking water in our hotels. It's all complimentary because you can't drink generally the tap water in Indonesia and India and Cambodia and places like that. You know, a water bottling plant can cost you $25,000 out of Thailand. It's not a lot of money. You'll pay it back. The ROI on that is 1.2 years, depending on the cost of water in the country that you're talking about, but around that period. So, you know, these are common sense things that every day we're still not thinking about. So I think your point, guys, why we're so late on that is a good point, and it's valid. Building materials, I mean, architects, you know, the recycled materials that we use now, the different flooring systems, the different lighting systems, obviously, roof structures, you know, these are all basics when you really think about it. That makes sense, but I think we're still ingrained, as you were saying, you know, when we're children, we're trained and we're educated in such a way that, you know, we use terracotta tiles on the roof, and we use, you know, bricks on the wall, and we use cement, and we use this, you know, that it's going to take a generation or 2 generations to really change that culture, but it's certainly happening.
But perhaps we're already there. Dwayne, tell us about that bamboo structure that you didn't want to tell us about. The 800 square meters with new techniques and what have you.
I do want to talk to that project, but well, I'll wait on a little bit. But you know, this is crucial because I've been fascinating about bamboo for a while. I don't know how to do it, and then I met this guy in Chiang Mai, right? He's actually built one structure out of bamboo. I think his guy named, well, that's anyway. But he's a great guy, but he's not an architect, right? So I went talk to him, and I said, okay, come to my office. I want to build something out of bamboo. He started teaching my people how to, you know, put the bamboo up together. Now we have a very high ambition to actually build a long span structure, you know, spanning about 30 meters or 20 meters something, to actually really create a substantial, large size of a building out of bamboo.
Gerard?
No, it's not Gerard. It's the guy. I forgot his name. But anyway, so we're working on that right now, and I'm very excited about that because we're gonna bridge to the new level of how bamboo being used to replace the steel structure completely, and it's gonna happen in Thailand, which I'm very excited about it. So it's gonna be fabricated out of the space frame structure, but made it out of bamboo. Now, what is that important about? It's not about Duong Rit design a bamboo building, but it's a new level achievement of bamboo, what bamboo can do. I'm a great fan of wood. I love using wood. And I think if you actually using wood from a sustainable forest, it will be great. You know, it's 0.8 energy per unit to actually using wood. It's an eminent energy so low compared to 20 of steel. You're using less energy to produce wood. I'm dreaming of building a high-rise building out of wood. I think one day, just for the sake of ecological reason for that. So the reason I'm excited about the bamboo structure, because it's going to be bridged into a new scale of the building, and that in a new set sample for Thailand that, you know, eliminate the previous thought about what bamboo can do.
So new use for an old product.
On bamboo, have you researched John Hardy? Bamboo
I know
Foundation?
him. I met him a few times.
Yeah,
I met him in Nevada. We went to Burning Man together, and I gave a lecture in TEDx in Bedrock City, and I did that with John Hardy. Yeah, I met with him.
He's built a whole international school in Bali out of bamboo, and his whole workshop now, his jewelry workshop, John Hardy Jewelry, is all made out of bamboo.
He's a nice guy.
There you go. Bamboo, the future.
Well,
Questions?
It's the fastest growing. I don't know if it's qualified as a wood. Is it qualified as a wood, or is it, anyway? It's the fastest growing plant material.
And therefore really
it's a grass.
sustainable, etc.
It's a grass. Okay, it's the fastest growing grass material that you can use to hold a building upright, because that regular grass wouldn't work.
And you can't grow steel or stone. You can't grow wood. Yeah.
You can't. Any questions for our guys? We're sort of on time. So, no one, you're still awake, this is good. Okay.
You make our job too easy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Although it's been pretty hard to argue against these guys, I think.
You can try.
Mark, you're talking a lot of, obviously, new product development is what you're all about. You even had like a packaging engineer there, and this whole idea of getting 6 boxes and stuff. I mean, okay, and we talk about bamboo. New materials, what are you looking at? What's sort of new and next for you guys a bit down the line that you're experimenting with? Obviously, we see the recycling of the ceramics into tiles and things. Anything else that you're doing that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, you saw there looking at our waste products. We're thinking about total life cycle, so we're looking at not just our waste products, but how other people's waste products could potentially contribute to what we do. Wood, I mean, extensively now, looking at how we can move away from some of the processed woods into more natural woods. Bamboo is something we're already using in bathroom accessories, and we're starting to look at more. I mean, coincidentally, I just built myself a bamboo bicycle last 2 weeks ago, so there you are. And we're trying to move, we're thinking about total life cycle. So we're really thinking also about durability. We're in such a disposable culture. We build cast iron bathtubs, which will last you several lifetimes. So, if we do those right, if we design them right, then you should be able to reuse them. You should be able to just leave them because they're doing a great job and they'll last forever. So I think, those are the areas we're looking at.
As long as Guy would say, they still look nice and they still look good. That's important too. We're on time, I think, for this. Any questions? I'll give you a last chance to pick these guys' brains. And if not,
Don't you dare.
don't you dare. He's lazy. He's lazy, isn't he? You see, he wants to get out of here. Okay, everybody. We have a question. And I think it might be for Dwayne Grid. Hold on, let's get a microphone up there.
You don't know these people, right? You have to challenge them.
I'm Swan from Axis Architect. We're talking about these green hotels supposed to be more expensive. People are paying more premium to stay in hotel like this. Is it operationally, actually, is it going to cost more to operate a green hotel? I thought it should be cheaper.
Probably one for you there.
Yeah. No, it should be cheaper. That's the whole point. From the point of view of the developer, that's what you sell them on. The reality is that you're also doing the right thing, and I think that's a key point. But yeah, if you can figure out ways to use less power, less air conditioning, less lighting, if you can use a way to recycle your water, you're paying less for your water. Of course, the operating costs will be lower. And one point that Guy asked me earlier is he said, well, you're asking an owner to spend more money, but yet the operator's making the saving. The operator's making the saving for the owner and the developer at the end of the day. The operator is just the operator. The owner, the developer, will be the one pocketing the cash. So if the operator is making a saving for the owner, then it's good for him anyway. So it should be the capital outlay up front will generally be more expensive, but the operating costs will generally be lower.
Surely if it costs less to run, you should actually be selling the rooms for less. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Did that ask you a question? Yeah? Any more up here in the back?
I didn't answer that. I want to answer that.
You want to answer that? Go on.
For the project that we're doing in Tomorrow Room, the Chintamani Wild, I'm the operator, I'm the owner, and the designer. And to get the electricity to come from miles away to be able to connect to the sewer system and so forth, it would cost us an enormous amount of money. So the practical approach, which also happens to be the sustainable approach, is to do everything internally. So yes, that's absolutely the cheaper way, but it also is it makes sense. Now, there's no science behind it.
Common sense.
There's no comment. Yeah.
And we have another question up here as well. So guys, now they're talking.
Hi, I'm Hok Beng from Maps Design. I would just like to make some closing remarks. I think some observations. I think the word sustainability is overhyped, overused, and I think speaking as a designer, we never even think of the word whenever we start a design exercise. And if you listen to Bill and listen to Bernard, both of them are actually talking about very intangible part of design, even though Bill's works are very tangible. And Bunat works are also very, very minimalist, and Bill very maximalist. But what is interesting to me is that both of them talks about things that are intangible. Bill talks about respect for the land, the culture, and the people and the animals. And Bunat talks about respect for space, for materials. So as designers, I think any good design is sustainable design. So it's really not part of our tangible vocabulary. That's all. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's great, isn't it?
Sustainability should be part of everything we do. And I think that's a very good note to leave things on. Sustainability should be part of everything we do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and your attention. Please do the same for our speakers. Thank you very much.